start, I mean, obviously it's kind of a big question, but obviously you have a long history in the collision repair industry, especially with CarStar and driven brands. But could you kind of give us a brief overview? We don't have to, delve into the entire history of it, but just a brief overview of your timeline with your career with the brand and how it's blossomed into where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations, obviously, on the 20th anniversary. Super cool. Didn't realize it was already 20 years. That's awesome. I've been in the business for now around 15 years. Started out just with CarStar Canada at the time and joined on the insurance team there. So learned kind of the ins and the outs of the business through working through various departments, insurance, operations, procurement, and all that kind of stuff. And we sold our company to Driven Brands in 2015. And at that point, I took over CarStar US as well. So we combined CarStar Canada, CarStar US. And that was kind of the start of the Canadian, I'll use the word infiltration, but it's probably the wrong word, but Canadian kind of takeover of the global collision repair industry. I don't mean me, I mean in that time frame where a lot of Canadian individuals really just started to have a very meaningful and substantial impact globally. Collision Repair Magazine, Daryl, Gloria, and the team certainly part of that, right? And their influence, particularly through iBiz. And so I, at that point, took over CarStar Canada, CarStar US, and we've made multiple acquisitions since then. And here I am today. Today I am the Executive Vice President and Group President of Paint, Collision, and Glass for Driven Brands, which is around 1,600 locations. We do about $2 billion in annual sales. And based here in Canada, which is super, super awesome.
Yeah, I think it's awesome that you're still based in Canada. I mean, I love seeing that you still have roots in Canada.
Looking back, so we're based, our Canadian headquarters is here in Hamilton, Ontario. And Hamilton has even been, just over the past 20 years, and particularly, I know Daryl and Gloria know this for sure, it's been like a breeding ground for a lot of real great individuals within the industry, from paint companies, suppliers, collision repair. So I think for whatever reason, just Hamilton produces some real good talent, not including myself, just a lot of really great other people like Flavio and Enzo with BSF. There's a lot of really great people. So something in the water here in Hamilton.
Yeah, I remember talking to Sam Arcanti last year. It was before the pandemic, and he said the exact same things. It's crazy the amount of innovation that's just come out of Hamilton.
Yep.
It's definitely inside. What has the mission been for you when it comes down to the core of things? What have you tried to achieve in the collision repair industry and just the culture and foster? What have you been trying to foster?
No. In the past, I think there's been more change in the past 10 years than probably 100 years prior, right? And my motto has always been, and I've used this line a bunch of times, with change really comes challenge and opportunity, right? And we can dwell on the challenges and kind of just, focus on all the things that need to be fixed, or we could recognize them and just zero in totally on what those opportunities are to overcome and just rise above and win, right? So our view, certainly my view, but our business view over the past 10 years has been to recognize change is happening, change is inevitable in the vehicle construct, the nature of insurance DRPs, and so on, that a lot of necessary change in our industry for sure, right, needed to mature. But the opportunities that have been created because of that change related to consolidation, growth, things of that nature has been our primary focus, and certainly my primary focus. So what we've done is just really try to simplify our approach as much as possible, really focused on kind of the triple win scenarios where in Canada, we're predominantly franchised. So where can our franchisee win and ensure their profitability? Where can our insurance partners win and ensure their long-term sustainability? And us as a corporation, how can we also win so that basically, essentially there's that triple win that happens not despite the change that's happening, but kind of because of that, and we can harness that and actually improve the entire industry. And what's certainly happened, the biggest change that's happened is consolidation, right? You can see it across Canada, across the globe, which I think has been really, really good for the business on a whole bunch of different levels. And it's not just in the shop side of things, on the insurance carrier, supplier side. And the business, I think, needed that. I think the industry needed that, needed some I think just kind of zero in on how do we take the industry, how do we mature the industry in a way that we can actually do safe and proper repairs, and we can treat the collision industry really as a true dynamic industry that we all know it is. But I don't think the world gives us any credit for it in the sense of how cool this business actually is.
No, it's
that's kind of a ramble, but.
No, that's a really good point. I mean, I tell people I have a history of like, I grew up in a family of car enthusiasts. Like my middle name is literally Mercedes. So like I'm familiar with the whole automotive realm, but I mean, my family's more mechanic based. And when I got into the magazine and saw everything with auto body, like my favorite part about this industry is that it affects everybody at some point in their life. Somebody's going to either suffer a collision, God forbid, but it happens, or you're going to have hail repair or something's going to happen that you're going to have to visit a collision repair, and it's an experience that everyone has to go through. So I just, yeah. And it really just illustrates the whole, I mean, I love how tight knit the industry is too, but that's a whole of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Insurance relations changing in, the future. I kind of want to touch on, the customer experience and how that has changed in 10 years, because it feels like customers are a lot more involved now than they were in the repairs. And how can collision shops really prepare for the new wave of the industry, I guess? And what do you see this new wave of the industry being?
Yeah, no, and I think if I'll look back 10 years and then kind of forward 10 years, the big change that's happened on the insurance side is procurement has played a very active role. I know when I started in the industry, the procurement side of things wasn't that prevalent in auto claims. And certainly in the past 10 years, that's accelerating. People kind of opinions one way or another, but it's the natural progression and maturity of any industry where that does happen. You look across any supply chain, it's natural to happen, right? So it has to happen. We have to embrace it. We have to accept the fact of that reality. And therein lies certainly opportunities, right? Ultimately, our insurance partners and our shops and ourselves, we're all aligned on the same thing. We want the safe and right repair. We want it done as quickly as possible with the best customer experience. Now, obviously, there's a cost part of this, which could become a contentious part, reality. But I think there's a way, particularly using technology moving forward, which is the advantage of the change that's happening and the advantage of the consolidation that's happening. Larger groups like CarStar, some of our competitors, we have the wherewithal in terms of resources, finances, capabilities to really leverage technology to really get us all in the right spot. And I look to, so now I'll look kind of forward 10 years. What happened through COVID accelerated, I think, the adoption and the need of the customer to interact in the collision repair industry digitally, right? Now, photo-based estimating, a lot of apps with our insurance partners and ourselves, customers' buying behaviors related to online buying doesn't stop and they get in a car accident. They're going to want to do the same thing. They want to do as much as possible from their computer or their smart device, as much as possible virtually, and frankly, like a one-stop shop. They probably don't even want to bring their car in, right? I'm making a bunch of assumptions here. So how do we use the current dynamic of the industry, and particularly around consolidation, to leverage technology in the best way possible to give that customer the right experience, to give the customer the best repair possible, accessing the right guidelines and certifications and repair procedures, and at the right price for the insurance partner, right? There's a way to get there. And I think that certainly the pandemic has accelerated a lot of technology opportunities in our business that can assist us in a great way. So moving forward, I guess my message there is we should embrace the change that technology is bringing, not kind of hide from it and kind of be stuck in our old ways, myself being included.
I'm just interested in knowing too, if the challenges facing the collision repair industry, I know in the US, there's a lot of discussion about, there's bills being handled in terms of OEM procedures being mandatory and whatnot in certain states, but do you see that sort of mindset coming to Canada, or eventually Canada making a similar decision as some of these states are?
In terms of repair mandating certain repair procedures or recommendations? I think, and I'd love to see a place where we put the safety and priority of the repair right at the top. Obviously, everyone wants that the repair be done properly and safely. We should all have the proper access to the information to get there, kind of thing. And like the way the car is built today, it's much more computerized, right, than anything. So the standard repair is a lot more complicated than it was even 5 years ago. So what we're seeing in the US, yeah, certainly there's an adoption of a lot more OE procedures and things of that nature. That has to come, and I wouldn't even just restrict just to Canada, globally, right? And
Yeah.
Canada has always been a very big leader in the collision space across a whole bunch of different levels. So I think we will emerge in the right spot. There's no doubt about that. And I think we all just need to really fully recognize, first and foremost, we have to do the repair properly. Like it's people's lives at stake. And no one, our industry is super unique. I couldn't even think of another one, maybe the dentist, right? But nobody wakes up in the morning wanting to go to a body shop. You wake up in the morning maybe wanting to buy a new computer or go to Apple or go to Micro, whatever. Nobody says, oh, I want to go to CarStar. There's an event and there's a need. So being that it's a need, not a want, we have to tailor that entire process, including access to OE repair information or proper repairs in the proper way. So ultimately that customer is taken care of as quickly and seamlessly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And certifications play a big part in that. Certainly repair guidelines play a big part in that. Does there need to be a government heavy hand mandate? I don't think so. Right? So.
Mm-hmm. No, I do. I don't think Canada really plays that way.
No.
So I'm glad you brought the OEM's point, but something I've kind of heard a lot from, and I think the industry is kind of going this way, but interested to hear your thoughts on it, OEM specific collision shops. So with the idea of OEM certifications, and like you said, these cars are so high tech and every OEM requires, you know, a different scan tool and this, that for their OEM calibrations or repair procedures and whatnot. So do you see a future, wherever it may be 5, 10, 15 years down the road, where one shop is Honda specific and then the other shop down the street is Ford, that kind of consolidation happening?
I think anything's possible for sure. So this is purely my crystal ball, which is like half right, which means I'm half wrong. But I don't envision a time when there's an OE branded collision repair center. But I certainly envision not 5 years from now, maybe even 5 months, 5 weeks, 5 hours from now. So very close time frame, because we're doing this now. And again, not to sell the power of the consolidators, but the beauty of the consolidators is we can virtually direct any vehicle that needs to go to a certain repair center that's Honda specific or Jaguar or whatever the case may be through a virtual load level and triage system. So I don't think the world needs those dedicated, Ford only repair centers, but certainly if there's a way to virtually direct the cars in the instances where they need to go to a certain facility based on capabilities or parts or technology, absolutely that should happen. And we call that segmentation, right? So claim segmentation or vehicle repair segmentation for sure. But do we need to, we also have to look at sustainability in mind. Does the world need another 10,000 body shops? Probably not. Let's use the footprint that we currently have, right? That has so many additional benefits, and get the car in the right location, because without a doubt, there are certain unique needs based on some brands that need to go to certain repair centers that specialize in those repairs, and not just high-end vehicles, but obviously aluminum and things of that nature. And if they got to go there, that vehicle should go to that location. But I don't necessarily think it needs to be fully branded.
Agree. Okay. Obviously, consolidation was a big change that happened in the last 15 years. Do you see more of that, going forward? I think the pandemic kind of shook up the pattern that we were seeing, kind of slowing down. But what are your thoughts on, are we going to see even more? Like we saw a lot of independent collision centers. Are we going to see even more of that in the future?
I think in Canada, we will see probably a slowing pace of consolidation in terms of new entrants or new players. Yeah. Right. It's much more of a mature market, but within the existing players, I think they'll continue to gain significantly more share. Globally, I do think there will be an acceleration in consolidation. Take the US and others with perhaps new entrants or acquisitions or whatnot. Canada is very unique in that the franchise model is the dominant model. And when I say dominant, I don't mean better. Obviously, I think it's better, but it's dominant in terms of the amount of locations that are part of a franchise group. When you look in other parts south of the border or anywhere else in the world, that's not the case. It's typically corporate owned groups, which are larger. So our unique model in Canada, I think, has served all the constituents extremely well. And our pure geography, right? There's whatever, 35 million people that living in kind of centralized places across the country, kind of limits the opportunity for that many more collision centers, right? And when it goes to a certain point and volume is overly diluted, nobody wins. So I don't think there's going to be an acceleration of new players. I do think there'll be a consolidation of the players within. So if there's 6 large players in 5 years, there's probably going to be 3. And out of those 3, I think they're going to probably double in size.
Yeah, I think technology plays a big role in that too. I kind of skipped over a question. Another question I ask people is the implementation of ADAS, and some facilities, they just aren't capable of taking on, whether it be the size and whatnot. So do you see third-party collision centers that are only, like there's Level 5 Drive by John Marlowe. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, or like, collision specific. They only do ADAS. That's that. Do you see that becoming more of a trend?
Yeah, we're certainly seeing that becoming a trend in the U.S. marketplace. There's more and more of those. My thought is, I think there's a way it could be blended in with the collision center or the glass repair center. I think there's an ecosystem where collision glass and kind of diagnostics calibration can coexist in a physical and mobile footprint. Does it need to be entirely standalone? In certain circumstances, sure, but by and large, no. I think as much as we can internalize within our operation, what I mean internalize is we do in-house, I think the better, again, for speed, cost, and whatnot. So ideally, it's all done in one spot, right? Where possible.
Yeah, like the one-stop shop, like you were saying before. I mean, what if you could tell the one thing to the Canadian collision repair industry for what they need to know for the next 10 years, whether it be in the realms of customer interactions, insurance, or advice that you could give them?
Dream big, work hard, and stay humble, stay hungry.
Or advice that you could give them?
Dream big, work hard, and stay humble, stay hungry, right?
Oh, I like that. Or advice that you could give them?
Dream big, work hard, and stay humble, stay hungry, right?
Oh, I like that.